Okay, everyone, welcome back to Tea with Publicity. It is your host, Alyssa Amoroso, and I am back on this fabulous Tuesday with another episode, and it is one that I am super excited about. Let me give you guys a quick rundown. So first, I will do my intro. My producer, Emily, is here, and we'll get into what I've been up to. Then we will jump into an interview with Lauryn Evarts Bosstick, who I'm obsessed with. She has been on my list of people to interview since I first started here. So the fact that I was able to make this happen is just so great. And I'm so excited because she is like an expert on wellness and beauty tips and tricks and hacks and all of those things. So we really dig into wellness, and I ask her to help me debunk things like, does chlorophyll water work? Do infrared saunas work? What about red light? And she gives amazing tips. So we will get into that. Then I do the Ask Alyssa segment where I give you guys advice. And then we finish things up, as always, with the Spill the Tea segment. I am talking about the whole Brendan and Piper situation, the new D'Amelio show, and how I feel about mental health and social media and everything that was kind of showcased in that show. So it's going to be a really exciting one. So first of all, let me kick things off. Hi, Emily. What's going on?
Nothing much, just your typical Monday.
Yeah, we are both feeling it a little today. I have to say, we both haven't really ate much. We are very tired. Yeah, it's a Monday. It's a doozy, I would say.
Yeah.
I do want to tell you guys something funny. I am going to learn how to bet on sports and go to New Jersey and do it. So me and my coworker Alex are going to get into it, and you can follow along. I saw some people messaging me being like, how do I do it? I don't know. We will learn together. We will gamble responsibly, and hopefully learn a little bit more about sports in the meantime, because I need something to root for. I always liked sports when either I was obsessed with a player and wanted to follow their story, or if I, in college, my boyfriend played football, so I was into his games.
Right.
I need something to root for.
Yeah, it gives you something to look forward to and have a team
to root for.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's what I'm most excited about. Another thing really quick before we jump into other things, I want to tell you guys about the Barstool Sports Store. It's where you could buy all of my merch. It is store.barstoolsports.com. And with fall just around the corner, now is the time to buy our best-selling hoodies, our hats, whatever it may be that you're interested in. I personally just launched some new merch. If you guys want the Manifest sweatshirt, the Self-Care Club sweatsuit, I have journals, I have home decor. There's a plethora of things. And even if you're not buying something from my brands necessarily, if you just want something that's Barstool branded, you can go there. So it is store.barstoolsports.com. Okay, so last week was really weird for me, guys, because I don't even know, I don't want to get into it too much, but it was one of those weeks where I kept accidentally getting into trouble. And I'm not a very confrontational person. I don't like to have conflict. I like to make my friends happy. And I kept putting my foot in my mouth, but not meaning to, and then getting the wrath of putting my foot in my mouth. I had 4 conflicts in 1 week, and I don't have any conflict. Sometimes I can go 6 months without any conflict with anyone. And I had 4 in 1 week, and I was so overwhelmed because on one hand, I had such a good week last week from a personal standpoint, but then from a people standpoint, I had all this conflict, and I was like, what is going on? So I'm hoping this week is a clean slate for me. It just was a lot for me to emotionally handle, and I don't like disappointing people or making people upset, and I just need to start clean this week. But from a personal standpoint, I feel I had a really good week. I made a commitment to myself in the beginning of the week, I knew I was going to be really busy because it was Fashion Week. I had some interviews at work, people I was interviewing. I knew I had personal training 2 times last week. So I had all of these commitments. And sometimes what happens is I overcommit and then I end up canceling things. And I'm trying to be more accountable to myself. So I was like, I'm not going to cancel any of my plans. Like, even if I'm tired, even if I'm overwhelmed, like, I made these commitments and I need to follow through. So I was so proud because last week, even though I had insomnia, even though I wasn't feeling that great, had a migraine, I didn't cancel any of my commitments. I made it to personal training twice. I made it to Fashion Week. I made it to my interview. Like, I just did everything. So personally, I was like, I'm the shit.
But how do you feel? Like, do you feel exhausted, or do you feel like, because I always feel like when you accomplish things, you think you're going to be tired because you're skipping out on taking that nap that you wanted. So I feel like I always think that I'm going to end up being tired and exhausted, but then you don't end up being like that. So it feels better to continue doing these things and forcing yourself to get there.
Exactly. So I felt proud of myself because ever since I've talked about the birth control that I went on, ever since I went on birth control, I noticed in the middle of my pill pack, I start getting insomnia. And I had 2 nights of insomnia last week where I literally tossed and turned all night. I got 4 hours of sleep 2 nights in a row, which is awful. I love sleep. And I knew, I'm like, okay, let me look at the date. The last time this happened to me, I remember I was in Charleston and I looked at the date and it was the 8th. And then of course, September 8th, it was happening again. So I'm like, okay, I know this is hormonal. So I'm not going to let this dictate my week. And just because I'm tired, I'm not going to cancel things. I'm just going to do it anyway and power through. And I'll sleep on the weekend. It's not that big of a deal. And I did it. And I caught up on sleep this weekend. And like you said, I'm fine.
Right. I feel like we just have this preconceived notion that we're going to be tired. And then that you skip out on things because you just need that sleep. But you actually don't sometimes.
And then you beat yourself up because you skipped out on things and you're laying in bed and you're like, oh, I'm so lazy. I should have done that.
That's exactly how I feel all the time.
And it's a negative self-talk then. You're putting yourself down for canceling something. So that's why I was just trying to honor my commitments because it's you feel, actually we talk about this with Lauren in the interview, you feel better about yourself when you honor commitments that you make. And I'm trying to make that choice. So yeah. It's interesting. I feel better this week. I'm tired from my allergies, but I'm not physically tired. That's more just my eyes are heavy because they're itchy. But that too shall pass. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about New York Fashion Week before we do get into the interview because I did the math and I've been to 8 years of New York Fashion Week, 2 times a year. So that's 16. And then I've been to London and Paris. So 17, 18, I've been to 18 seasons of New York Fashion Week, if not 20. And there's I feel 2 ways about it. One, it is incredible. I made a bucket list in college, and on that bucket list was attend New York Fashion Week. And now I've done it hundreds of times. And for that reason, I'm so grateful. And it is an amazing thing within the industry, but there's also a lot of it that I really in my core don't like. And I want to be truthful because you see it on social media and even myself, I was feeling a lot of FOMO last week because I see all these influencers at these splashy events. Keep in mind, I was invited to, I also could have gone, but I opted out of going. One, because it's very exhausting. It's very phony, which is what I'll get into. And I just don't think it's necessarily for me all the time. Not to say I don't enjoy it from time to time, but I feel like the actual shows are incredible because it's really cool to see these designers put all this hard work into these pieces. The music, the actual production of going to a fashion show is incredible. It lasts 15 minutes. It's not long. It's just people come out, they walk, you leave. So that's really beautiful. But what I don't like about Fashion Week is the politics of it. It's a pissing contest. It's hey babe, how are you? What row are you in? Oh, you're in second row. Okay, yeah, I'll be in first. It's very much that. Oh, hey hon, how are you? Did you get invited to the Dior show? Oh, you didn't? Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. It's that. Do you know what it is people flexing their invites and their status.
Right.
And the more followers you have, the more close to the front you are, and the less followers you have, you're in the back. And it's very much like, and I get that, obviously, I'm a marketer. Like, you want the people that are notable to be in the front because they're going to put it on their stories and get you the most eyeballs. Like,
Right.
I don't fault anyone for any of this. It's just annoying when everyone's just like, oh, you didn't go to the Bulgari party? Oh, okay, yeah. No, yeah, I got invited, but oh, you want the contact? No, I can't share it. Sorry. Like, ugh. I can't. So for me, after someone who's been doing this for so many years, like, I'm a little bit over the ass kissing of it all. Whereas when I was fresh in it, I kind of had to take place in the ass kissing because it's a great time to network. Like, my favorite part of Fashion Week is seeing friends in the industry. Like, some of the fashion influencers that I used to be friends with, I haven't seen in 2 years because of COVID. So it's really nice to like connect with people, and you could show up to an event alone and you're going to know 30 people in the room. Like, it's really cool in that way, but it's also very much like, oh, these people don't want to talk to me because I don't have as many followers as the girl next to me.
Right.
Ugh. Just gross.
It gets exhausting after a while.
It's
I can see that.
It's exhausting, and it's a lot of money too, because a lot of the shows, like years past, they used to all be at Lincoln Center or Spring Studios. Now brands show wherever. So let's say you have a show at 1 and then one at 2 and then one at 3. They could be in Soho, uptown, downtown. So you're running around, you're spending all this money on Ubers because you're not really going to be on the subway like dripping sweat when you're dressed in couture.
Right.
It's so it's expensive, it's tiring, you're on your feet all day, your phone's dying. It's a lot, and it just, I'm fine going to a few shows, seeing people I want to see, and then dipping out. I don't need to do like 7 days of back-to-back things. It's
right.
too much for me. Okay. So I will end it there. I'll stop my rant. One last thing, if you guys follow me on Instagram, which I don't know why you wouldn't. I think my laundromat is stealing my Lululemon clothes. So I'm trying to figure that out with them. I have a little bone to pick. But let me get into the interview with Lauren, and let me tell you guys a little bit about her before we get into it. Here is her bio, because this just kind of sums it up if you're not familiar with her. And if you are familiar with her, like, holy hell, is she impressive. So Lauryn Evarts Bosstick has turned her passion for beauty, wellness, and no-censor advice into one of the most distinctive blogs online today, The Skinny Confidential. Along with the blog, Lauren has released 2 books, The Skinny Confidential Lifestyle Guide and Get the Fuck Out of the Sun. In partnership with her husband, Michael, she hosts a cheeky entrepreneurial podcast called The Skinny Confidential Him and Her, which has nearly 100 million downloads. Lauren works with top-tier brands while continuing to connect with her community on a daily basis. Plus, she's a new-ish mom to her beautiful daughter, Zaza. So here is the interview with Lauren, and I will do Ask Alyssa when I come back. So first things first, interesting question. I talk a lot about mental health and stuff, and I'm curious, what's your inner dialogue like with yourself? Are you kind to yourself? Are you hard on yourself? What's your self-talk like?
I would say it's a complete Gemini. It's either really productive or it's not. But what I have noticed looking back is when it's not productive, I'm using it to still drive forward, if that makes sense. So if it's like, oh, I have to prove this, I'm using it in a way that I'm using my energy right. Does that make sense? Let me explain what I mean. So if it's negative, if it has a negative undertone, I think I try to channel that in a way that's productive to whatever I'm doing. And so inner self-talk is like, oh, I need to prove this. But I got to a point, I think, and I've talked to a lot of successful people where they say that they started trying to prove something, and while that works, it stops working after a while. So I've realized with my self-talk, the proving thing doesn't work. And looking back on that, that's negative, to try to prove things. but I do think at the same time it served me. So it's a hard answer. It's negative, but it's not. Does that make sense?
I get it, because I'm the same way. Like, I'm hard on myself sometimes, but that also pushes you to do better.
Yes.
Because you're kind of like going against yourself. Like, you won't, like, you have to do this, you have to do that. I know it's interesting because, like, as I try to check myself more and be like, okay, you're being like a bitch to yourself, like, be nice, have compassion, allow grace. Like, do you allow yourself more grace now that you're a mother, or now that I think I've heard on your podcast that you like actually schedule out times, like, this is work time, this is time to go on social media. Does like allowing yourself more grace kind of like help ease up on some of that like anxiety, or just like ease up on you being hard on yourself to get things done?
I think to explain it easier is I hold myself accountable. And I think that I want to be the best version of whatever I am in every area. And while that has so many positive things, it also comes with things maybe that are negative. But I think with any positive thing, there's always going to be a negative thing. So I'll give you an example to get really granular. I gained 55 pounds when I was pregnant. And the talk inside my head probably was not productive at all. That's just being really honest. I looking back, I don't think that was productive. Now I've tried to shift my mindset to thinking and visualizing how I want my life and my body to feel, to look. I've started visualizing how I want it to feel and look, as opposed to being like living in scarcity and being like, I never want to go back to being 55 pounds heavier. And I think that I'm super observant of the thoughts that I'm having. So when going back to the accountability thing, it's like holding yourself accountable for what's not serving you within your thoughts. And I actually learned that from microdosing mushrooms, just observing what I'm thinking to make sure it's serving me in the way it should be. And this is like getting so deep the second that we go in. But
yeah,
that's like, I think it's really important, just to give a theme of this, to be self-aware of your thoughts.
I talk about that a lot. I see a therapist and I talk about it with her because it's interesting, because I always say to her, I'm like, I don't break promises to other people, but I break promises to myself. And I don't have that accountability with myself all the time. And that's something I'm working on. Like, for example, after this interview, I have a personal trainer. I would never not go to that today because I made that commitment to him. But if it was just me wanting to work out at 6 p.m., I'd be like, it's raining, I'm not going today. So it's like, working through, like, staying accountable to yourself. And I think that takes a lot of practice. Like you said, you're checking yourself all the time.
It is a practice. It's a practice, and it's meditating, and it's breath work, and it's being still. We have completely underestimated sitting still. I can't believe how much clarity you can get in silence. And it's so simple, and no one wants to do it. And the reason they don't want to do it is because it's uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable being with yourself. So I think, like, really having a practice of sitting still and gaining clarity, and really examining your thoughts, because your thoughts are what makes up your life.
Yeah.
So I really take time to think of, okay, the way I'm talking to myself isn't nice. Like, I think it's fine to have someone to keep you accountable too. I think that you actually are keeping a promise to yourself by having a trainer, because you're following through with something that you know will keep you accountable. So I think that that's fine, but I think it's important to just really keep yourself accountable to whatever you're thinking, because it really does make up your life.
Yeah, it's like, it shows integrity too, I think, to show the follow through commitments, whether it be with someone else or with yourself. And this whole concept of sitting in silence, it's really weird because I'm single, and whenever I go on vacation, I feel way more single than ever. And I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, how come when I'm on vacation, I'm like thinking about things so much more? And I'm like, it's because I'm in freaking silence. It's because in my everyday life, I'm working, I'm hustling. I live in New York City. I'm listening to podcasts. When you're on vacation and you're on a beach and you're trying to relax, your brain is just like thinking. And it's because like we don't give ourselves that time to be still and like really feel our feelings. Which kind of leads me to my next question. could you walk me through like your routine a little bit, like your meditation when you wake up? Because I feel like you're a pretty regimented person.
I schedule time in my calendar to be still, and I'll give you examples of what I mean by that. This Saturday, I'm going to an isolation tank. It's a float tank. You go and you float, and there's no stimulation. And I think someone who lives in New York City should really, really tap into this. You are constantly your cortisol is rising. Think about it. You're sleeping. There's an ambulance. Even when you're sleeping, you're not being quiet. And so I think that for someone like you, it's really important to seek out opportunity where you are dead silent. And that is maybe getting noise canceling headphones and sitting and meditating or finding a float tank. So what I'll do this Saturday is I'll float. You just go in salt water and you literally lay there with no stimulation for an hour. And the ideas that I will get from my business from that hour will there will be nothing like it than I could have gotten all week. So that's an example of being still. As far as like micro daily routine, I think this is like such a boring answer, but I make time to meditate. I mean, it's not glamorous. Like I do not check my phone when I wake up. I don't even look at it. I don't want to see everyone's to-do list. I literally put it away. I turn on like a frequency sound bowl music, and I just want to make the bed. I want to have my thoughts. I want to be quiet. I want to meditate. And I learned that from someone named Keith Cunningham. He wrote The Road Less Stupid. And he's very successful. And he said, the smartest people in the world that he's ever talked to have think week and thinking time. And I think we've gotten to this place in life where we constantly have to be distracted by our phone. I think being on my phone is just as meaningful as being off of it. I have more ideas and more business plans when I'm off my phone. So I really think just having space to think and having creative time on the calendar and not being so reactive all the time is incredibly effective. Breath work by Wim Hof is great. You know, today I had an hour conference call. I took a walk while I had the call. Another thing, this is stupid, but we're going to go to listen to sound bowls. Like just finding these times in your busy day, especially in New York, to be quiet. When I go to New York, my energy is wild while I'm there, but the second I come home, I crash. So I think paying attention to wherever you live is important to be able to carve out those pockets of time.
One tip that I actually got from you that I've implemented, because I'm big on self-care. I remember you saying that you get like foot massages and you just use it as like an hour to do emails or whatever it may be. And I'm big on stuff like that too. I'll get like Glam Squad to come to my house and do my hair while like give me a blowout. Whereas like normally that might take me an hour and a half. And like that's my time to be productive, but it's also like a bit of self-care because it feels nice to get pampered but be productive. And I do try to do stuff like that. And one thing I think about that comes to mind is whenever I get eyelash extensions, that's the one time where I'm like, I am laying there with my thoughts for like an hour and a half. And you're right, you get so many creative ideas. The only thing I wish I could do was write them down. I'm like, my eyes are glued shut and I want to write these down.
Honestly, like if I were you, if anyone tries to talk and you don't want to talk during a service, I would put noise canceling headphones on and I would do a meditation, like a guided meditation, just put it in your ears while you're doing that. Or just like you said, sit in silence. And maybe you bring a recorder and you just pick it up and say it into the recorder while you're getting your eyelashes. That sounds like that's a space though for you to grow your business. And I just can't believe as a culture how no one talks about being still. Besides, Ryan Holiday talks about it a lot, being still and just having space to think. I know Joe Rogan says he plans all his podcasts when he's in a float tank. I mean, this idea of we always have to be like connected on our phone is it's just crazy.
That's so true, especially because I was a publicist and my job was always putting out fires. It was like, we need this and we needed it 5 minutes ago. So I think I'm sometimes used to reacting instead of just like thinking. Actually, the other night I had insomnia, which sucks, but I had like the best creative ideas in that time that I was awake. And the next day I was like, I'm ready to go. I had so many great ideas last night. So yeah, sometimes it is just those moments of quietness that you really could think.
I mean, look at COVID. Look what COVID did.
True.
How many people have moved, changed jobs, divorced, gone somewhere else because they had time to sit with themselves? It's very uncomfortable.
So true.
But when you sit with yourself, you change. It was very interesting to me how so many people changed their entire life, including me. I said, what am I doing in LA? I don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I in LA? So I was able to really self-reflect. But that makes total sense that with insomnia, you have the best ideas. I would definitely get noise canceling headphones. I would get a spot that you meditate in. I would do like red light on your phone, like anything that just really helps like relax you. Red light at night, anything that's bringing your cortisol down, I think is what the world needs right now.
Okay, so it's funny you bring up red light because I had a little game, but I feel like we could expand on everything so we can make it a topic of conversation. Worth it or waste? And one of my things was red light. And I want you to like, you have so many opinions on all of these things. You've tried everything. So I want to know, okay, I put infrared lights, I guess, which is kind of the same. You believe in it. You think it works.
Well, first of all, what I would tell you first before anything is get red light bulbs. So I don't, in my bedroom, I'm never turning on artificial light. I don't want, when I wake up, the shades are up, it's natural light in my room. And when I'm winding down, I don't want that DMV lighting in my room. I want a super calm light, and red light is known, if it's in your room, to bring down your cortisol. It's going to relax you. It tells your brain it's time to go to bed. It calms you down. So red light bulbs in your room, I think everyone on the planet should have that. It's wow. Changed my wind down. As far as red light, like red light therapy, I find that the Juve has been so effective. I mean, I'm all about wellness that works on the go and is quick. And so for me to be able to do breath work for 10 minutes in front of the Juve, and it's like waking me up, and it's good for my skin and my hair and my vitality, like I'm all about it. If it's like this huge contraption that I have to like put on, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to just, I like, it has to sell time for me. I stand in front of it. I can do the breath work. I can write my to-do list. It's amazing. I definitely notice a difference. I think red light in general is worth it.
Okay, so worth it. Next one is collagen. So like collagen that you ingest in like a pill form, or like a collagen creamer that you put in your coffee. Do you buy it?
It's not something I have every single day, but I've heard different opinions on it. So that's not, so I honestly, I would have to say, I don't know if it's worth it or not. That's not something I have like certain things I go to every day, and I like collagen, but that's not one of the things I'm constantly reaching for.
Yeah, I use it here and there. I have no idea if I've seen a result or not from the collagen in my face. Like, not enough to say. I think with most things, sometimes I'm like, I have no idea if this is doing anything. My other one is chlorophyll water.
I love chlorophyll water. I do that every morning. Again, that's easy. 2 drops in my water. I cannot travel to any kind of high altitude without chlorophyll, or I'll get sick. So I love chlorophyll.
I didn't realize it helps with that.
Oh my God. You'll never get altitude sickness again.
It's so weird because when I went somewhere with high altitude, speaking of insomnia, I had insomnia the whole time. And I was like, this is so weird. And I Googled, I'm like insomnia with altitude, and it's like a thing. So next time I'm bringing chlorophyll. I was like, what the heck is going on?
They have it at the hotel. If you ask, like if you go to Aspen, they have it at every hotel.
Wow. Interesting. Okay, so I bought it too, and I haven't been consistent with using it, but maybe I need to start.
Like, I'm all about hacks on how to use it. So what I would say is, I'm assuming you wake up and drink lemon water, because I feel like everyone on the planet does that. Okay,
that was on my list.
Yeah, you're drinking out of your Hydro Flask thing right now. Just associate the habit of doing lemon water with chlorophyll. So whenever I want to make a habit, I associate it with something else. So for instance, When I do breath work, I associate it with the Juve. When I do lemon water, I associate it with chlorophyll. So I can't just like add a habit randomly. It has to be associated with something else I'm doing. When I'm done brushing my teeth, I do my skincare routine. When I wake up, I don't check my phone. I make the bed. Like every habit should be associated with something to make it last. Does that make sense?
I think that's a great tip because it's like, for example, like if you associate taking your vitamins with brushing your teeth, like let's say, it's like you're going to brush your teeth every day. So you just attach it to something that you're already doing. I think that's an amazing tip. I love that. What about intermittent, why can't I say that? Intermittent fasting? What's it called?
I can't say anything, so don't worry. I get yelled at for not pronouncing anything right.
Intermittent fasting. Worth it or waste?
I'm not hungry in the morning. I'm just not. I'm not someone who likes to wake up and have a huge breakfast. So I usually don't eat until 11 o'clock. I don't even know if I like do it on purpose. I just don't. I'm not a big eater in the morning.
So you're unintentionally fasting.
Yeah, I think what I have to work on and what I think is really effective is to stop eating after 7. I think that is absolutely game changing. And I think that's when it can be really effective. And I think it's worth it. For a while, I was eating in bed because I was so busy at like 9 o'clock at night. Like that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So what I've tried to do lately is stop eating at 7. And then maybe I'll start eating at like 10:30 or 11. I think intermittent fasting, you have to listen to your body. That's not one size fits all. Like if you're hungry in the morning, eat. And your intuition's telling you to eat. I'm a big fan of listening to your intuition.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that because there's some mornings I wake up and I'm like, I'm starving. And then there's other mornings where you're fine. And I think it's about, like you said, listening to cues of your body. If you wake up starving, don't starve yourself till noon. Like,
right.
Because a diet says to.
Right.
No, I completely agree with that. Okay, this one's a little weird, but what about crystals? Like I'm one of those people, like, do I buy into it? Sure. Do I know if it works? No freaking clue. Like I have no idea.
I mean, science wise, it's earthing. It's grounding. There's ions in crystals that are found in the earth. There's ions that are found in grass, in sand. You go to the beach, you put your feet on the sand, it takes your hangover away. It's because there are ions in crystals. This is a fact. I'm not making this up. So I love crystals because I find it very grounding. This is so weird, but my daughter and I like will touch a tree. Like we put our hand on a tree. Like when is the last time, especially in New York, that you went outside and put your feet on the earth?
I couldn't tell you.
That it's so good for you. And this is, again, not my opinion. This is facts. You can go, read about earthing and grounding. So with crystals, I find that to be, especially if you're in New York, something that's powerful because you can touch a stone and touch nature. I have like a couple crystals that I have that I'll hold when I'm meditating, or I have a crystal eye mask that I'll put on top of my eyes. I like crystals. I'm not like crazy crystals all over my house, but I do find them to be very grounding.
That's a good point about the grounding, because during COVID, I went to my parents' beach house for a bit, and every day I would walk to the beach and put my feet in the sand, and like I would just feel like a weight lift almost off my chest. Like you really do feel that connection, and like it's just something about it is so powerful, and I wanted to keep doing that, and then I'm like, oh, great, okay, I'm in New York, let me go put my feet on the pavement. Like it's not gonna
honestly, you're gonna think I'm fucking crazy. You should tell your parents to go to the beach and send you 3 pounds of sand and put the sand in a litter box like a cat.
I was gonna say make it like a little tub
and put your feet in it. Like, I think in New York City, you do have to get creative with your wellness, because I mean, when I go there, I have lots of energy while I'm there, but when I come back home, I crash because it is so gnarly on your cortisol. So like I know this sounds crazy, but I would put my feet in the litter box while I was like working on the computer, because it's like people are probably going to be like, this bitch is crazy.
Honestly, and in my head, I'm like, sounds nice.
I mean, like it is important to touch the earth. It feels very good. And once you like tune into that, it's hard to sort of like tune out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's weird to not have like nature around, and my body's built like an aversion to grass. I swear. I never had an allergy. I've lived in New York for 8 years. I go to my parents on the weekends. I'm sneezing. Everything's itchy. I'm like, when did I become allergic to nature? Living in the city has just completely like stripped me of nature that I'm allergic now. It's like insane. It's so wild.
That is wild.
I know.
It's probably your body telling you like you need to be in nature more. But there's so many pros of New York City. I love New York City. I just think that you do have to like get those pockets and moments of time where you can connect to nature.
Totally. One other thing I want to ask you is, I like when you're interviewing people and the way you answer questions, like you speak with a lot of conviction and a lot of like certainty and confidence. Where do you get that from? Like, are you just sure of yourself? Like, have you always been that way? Or is that something as you've kind of matured in your career that you've just become more confident?
I think that that's something that my parents I think it has to do with my parents and my upbringing. I would say, I mean, I came from a household that as I grow up, I didn't know this when I was in it because I didn't know how other people grew up. I just grew up in a household that was very non-judgmental. Like it was like there was never anyone telling me you can't do this and you can't be this. It's like, oh, you want to do that? You can do it. Go figure it out. Go figure out how to do it. And I think that looking back, I wouldn't have known it at the time, but I think that was good for instilling confidence in someone. It's like you can do whatever you want, but you have to go figure out how to go get it. And that was with everything. So I think that's maybe something. I think from birth I've been an oversharer. I mean, I think that maybe that is just like part of my personality. And I think with confidence too, I think there's a fine line between confidence and also maintaining like a level. It's important to also be humble. I want to teach my daughter confidence is great, but sometimes confidence can go too far. We've seen that. So again, there's pros and cons. I really try to check myself, keep myself accountable, be grateful, meditate, do all these things. I think that helps. But really, I do think that things about my personality, like what you just mentioned, definitely I have to totally credit my parents. Both my parents were very, very confident, non-judgmental, warm, disarming people. And if I got any of that, I'll be happy. Like if any of that magic rubbed off on me, I'm good.
That's funny because I say the same thing. I'm like, my parents raised my sister and I to be very confident. And like, it's the one thing. And now as I'm an adult, in hindsight, I'm like, that's the one thing I want to take when I become a mom and like hand off to my kids, because you see so many people struggling with things, and just having confidence innately like built in is such a great quality that I don't take for granted. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, there's times when I am so not confident too, but it's just like, it's a great way to be brought up. So that's really awesome.
I think, and too, if you're struggling with confidence, by the way, it's not impossible to get confidence. Don't think that if you are struggling with confidence that you can't work that muscle. Ed Milet is someone who I really look up to, and he always says confidence comes from the promises that you keep to yourself. So what I would say to do if I was like mentoring someone that was feeling insecure is I would say, make 3 promises a week to yourself and complete those promises. And an app that I've been really loving right now is called Tally. And I have on there, right now I'm doing a thing where I'm not drinking for 70 days. So I have like a countdown for that. I have a countdown for how many minutes I meditated, how much I got into nature, breath work. You could put sex on there, whatever you want. And you just can continue every day to keep the promises that you have to yourself. And I think that builds the muscle of confidence, which is why when people lose weight, a lot of weight, have you ever noticed their confidence obviously gets better? A lot of people would say, oh, it's because the way they look. I don't think so. I think it's because they set out to do something and they accomplished the promises that they said that they were going to make to themselves. So I think you know, what's helped me build the muscle of confidence, you know, that I definitely think I got from my parents is making sure that I am keeping the promises that I tell myself I'm going to keep. And again, that's getting quiet and writing down what those are. No one can tell you that.
That's so true. And it actually goes back to the very first thing that we talked about, which is like holding yourself accountable and doing things for yourself and having that, you know, commitment to yourself, because you're right. Like, you feel so confident when you write things down on a to-do list and you check them off and you know that you did them. Nothing's worse than looking at your to-do list and keep moving them over to the next day and just never getting there, because then that negative self-talk, oh, you didn't get anything done, you're so lazy, then that kicks in. What's better than being like, I did everything and I feel great.
Too, with you, with your podcast, like, doesn't it feel great when you say, I'm going to get an episode up every Tuesday, and you follow through with that? That's building your confidence muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And same with you, you mentioned your trainer. Like, when you follow through with that, you know, let's say you work out 3 times a week, like, it feels good to follow through with things that you said you were going to do. So I would examine, if you're not feeling confident, what your promises are that you're making to yourself and if you're following through with them in work, in business, in life.
Mm-hmm. No, that's such a great tip. Well, Lauren, where could everyone, I know you have like a million things. You have a book, product line. Where could everyone follow you and figure everything out, buy all your products, buy your book?
Thank you so much for having me. What you're doing is so cool.
Thank you.
Your whole setup, everything. That was so much fun. That was a different conversation too. I loved it.
I like to, I joke, I'm like, I'm on a sports network and I'm just talking about girly shit. I don't care what's going on. I'm like, let's just talk about stuff that people want to know.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I know you have an incredible community, so thank you guys for listening. You can find me at Lauren Bostick at The Skinny Confidential. And my book is called Get the Fuck Out of the Sun. And the product is on shopskinnyconfidential.com.
Oh, I should tell you really quick. I ordered the face oil and the ice roller because I'm like, well, first of all, I like to support other women. And second of all, I'm like, I got to try this before I talk to her. Like, I need to know what this is all about. I've been using it every morning.
Honestly, I love New York so much, but the weather there it's a little rough. Mm-hmm. It's a little rough on the skin. I was puffy as fuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, aside from even the puffiness, it wakes me up to have just something cold on my face. Like, it just, in the morning, I'm just like, woof, there's that like burst of energy. So
wake up with your ice roller, have morning sex, meditate, just don't look at your phone.
Your chlorophyll water.
Yeah, don't look at your phone. Go ground your feet in your sand and your kitty litter box.
Okay, I will be better. I gotta put my phone down and I'll get my kitty litter.
If you get a kitty litter box, you better message me on Instagram, because tell your parents it has to be real sand.
I'm going to the beach this weekend. I'm gonna be coming home with like buckets of sand.
I would do it. I swear to God I would do that.
Oh my God. Well, Lauren, thank you so much. It was so nice having you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Okay, guys, Ask Alyssa, and Emily, you can chime in and help me with this. Okay. Hi, Alyssa. Love the pod and you. I'm in college, so this might be a very college-y scenario, but I need some advice. I went on a date with a boy, let's call him John, at the end of last semester. We didn't talk much over the summer. We didn't really know each other before the date. But now that we're back at school, we are very flirty, and I really think that he's going to ask me out again soon. The tricky part is that a close mutual friend of both of ours, let's call him Steve, unexpectedly asked me out on a date last week, which I had to politely decline. If John asked me on another date, how do I address this / should I tell him about Steve since they are friends? For context, I don't think John knows that Steve asked me out. I'm not sure if this would make things weird between the two of them / if it would be insensitive or rude for me to go out with John so soon, knowing that they are friends. But I feel like it's something I should just ignore, right? Any advice is appreciated. Thank you. Is it just me? Like, I didn't really go on dates in college.
No, I didn't either. I went on a couple, but guys in college are very...
It was more like we'd hook up at the bar and then we'd be like, hey, come to my dorm room.
Exactly. But
like, I wasn't like, no one was like taking me out really.
Yeah, no. I mean,
so, like,
I
good
wish.
For
like,
you.
Yeah, good for her. I'd say ignore, because she's not like consistently seeing this guy yet. And like, she doesn't owe it to him to tell him anything. And also, like, maybe it'll create unnecessary drama that, you know, he might not need in his life. And like, he might be like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, I think just leave it.
Yeah, I think, honestly, you don't owe this guy anything, really. If you haven't spoken all summer and now you're back at school, just let things naturally happen, and maybe you'll end up dating him. Maybe you won't. But also, like, the cynical side of me is also like, guys love competition, so you don't have to tell him, but if he finds out his friend's into you, that also might like kind of kick his ass into gear to be like, no, I like her. So it's not the worst thing in the world, I don't think, but I don't think you need to like tell him necessarily, but just see if you two end up going out. And I also don't think you even had to decline the date with the friend necessarily, because you only went on one date with the other guy.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, like you're almost being so respectful, which like obviously I'm never going to tell someone not to be respectful, but like you're being so mature and respectful, and I don't know college to be that way.
No.
To me, college is just like everyone hooks up with friends. Like
everyone's doing their own thing, having fun. And you don't owe anybody anything, especially like after one date and then like a whole summer break in between. And maybe it'll even push the friend to like
want to pursue things. Yeah. So I think I would just slow burn it. See how what did you call him? The first guy, John. See how John acts, like if he's going to ask you back out, if you're going to see him out at a party or in class or whatever it may be, and see where things go with him. It kind of sounds like you're just not even interested in the friend anyway. So I wouldn't say anything. I would just keep going about your business, and hopefully things work out for you. Good luck. Okay, next question. Ask Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa. Loving the pod so much. I've been struggling a lot lately with my marriage. Long story short, I caught my husband sexting and flirting with a woman on New Year's Day. We separated for a bit and he wanted me to come back home. I told him I would only come back if we did therapy, something he refused to do for years. Now I found out that he's on a dating site, Plenty of Fish, and he's been watching a lot of porn. This is all when I'm going to pick up my son from daycare or when I'm at my dance performances. I've been with this man since I was 19, together 6 years, married 2. He has his profile that he is single and has no kids, but we have a 2-year-old together. I've been plotting a divorce and getting my ducks in a row before I pulled the trigger. My friend said I'm being selfish and I'm going to ruin my family and my son's life, but I feel ready and I don't want to get worse later down the road. I'm hurt, but I'm also at peace with my decision. My mom said it's my fault that I'm in this position because I don't dress up like I used to and I'm out doing dance performances on Friday and Saturday nights. But that's another way I make money on top of my 9-to-5 work from home, and I'm still in college. We don't share bank accounts, and he doesn't give me money to contribute to what my son needs on a daily basis. He says I should be grateful that I'm living in the house rent-free. I'm afraid that I'm making the wrong decision. Please help me. Am I being selfish? Is it wrong that I'm plotting a divorce after seeing this without confronting him? Was it all my fault? So
Wow.
I wrote back because like I had to write back right away. And I said, oh my God, I will get to this. But my initial gut feeling is you're doing the right thing. Because I was like, I can't leave this unanswered, you know?
No, 100%.
First of all, there's a lot to freaking unpack here. He cheated on you. He has dating apps pretending he's single and doesn't have a kid. Girl, you have every right to leave his ass. And the fact that people are guilting you is absolutely ridiculous, because it's probably a better life for your son to see you guys divorced and both happy than to see you in a relationship that isn't serving you. So I just don't agree with any of these people in your life. I think you're doing the right thing. Get your ducks in a row. The fact that you're working 2 jobs, you're going to college, like you're doing everything you can to provide a life for your son and yourself. And it sounds like this guy's not helping you and he's holding you back. Move on. You're doing 100% the right thing.
Yeah, I think it's never selfish to get a divorce if you're not happy, regardless of if you have kids or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so many kids have divorced parents, and it does suck, but people get over it, and you have to do what feels right and makes you happy. And if people are guilting you because like maybe you're not dressing up as much anymore, like do what makes you happy, and someone one day will love you for that, and you should never feel like you have to dress up or look a certain way for your own husband. Like, your own husband should love you for who you are.
And him saying, like, you're lucky to live rent free here. It's like,
what does that mean?
Exactly. It's like,
what
you're married. You're like, what
you should never like put that type of pressure on someone when you're married. Like, that should never even be a consideration. So I think she's absolutely doing the right thing.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing now that she had replied to me saying more. So let me just read it. She said, oh my God, thank you. I feel like anytime I call him out on his bullshit, it turns out to be my fault. I just want to give my son a mom and dad, but it's a false narrative. I don't want him to feel scared to leave someone just because he has a kid with someone. I'm just stuck. I don't have enough money to hire an attorney, so I have to gather all of this evidence while I can. Yes, you're exactly saying what I just said. You don't want your son to see you just stick with someone because it's like convenient or because society says that you have to like stay married. You know the answer. Like, I feel like she even said she's getting her ducks in the row. You know what to do. Don't listen to outside influences. It sucks that it has to affect your relationship with like friends or your parents. But I mean, they're teaching you basically that you're not worthy of like standing your ground and being with someone because they want you to stay with a cheater. Like, it makes no sense.
No.
You don't deserve to be with someone who's out there dating.
And by the way, like, this is literally the definition of gaslighting, making somebody feel like it's their fault when it's yours.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with you. So I think you're doing the right thing. Gather all of the evidence and just, keep saving up and try to, figure out a plan of action forward. And you sound like a strong woman, so you will get through this, and I have faith in you. Okay, guys, let's spill the tea. There are some things to discuss today because I want to talk about the Dixie D'Amelio. Oh, wait, not the Dixie D'Amelio. The D'Amelio show, period. Like, in general. All of them are in it, not just Dixie. And, some Bachelor in Paradise stuff. There's just a lot. There's a lot. Okay, the D'Amelio show, I watched it in one day. Did you watch it?
I haven't watched it yet. Is it fully out?
Fully out.
Are they releasing by? Okay, so
it's fully out on Hulu.
Okay, that's my next watch.
Oh, you need to watch it. So I'm gonna give you guys my top line thoughts. I think I liked the way it was a docu-series and not a quote unquote like reality show, even though it technically was reality. But I think we all kind of pictured it to be like a Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And what was better about it was that there was no like fake plot lines. Like, on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, they like, have like a themed episode where they like trash someone's house or like play a prank. It was none of that. It was no fluff. It was very much like Dixie and Charlie talking about their sudden rise to fame, their struggles with mental health, and the parents also navigating having children that are blowing up at the moment. And it made me really sad. I'm not going to lie. I think it was really awful to see how much they struggle with fame and worth and the trolls and the stuff that basically other people put onto them. Charlie was 16 when it was filmed. Dixie was 19. It's like, these are young girls. And it pissed me off after watching the show because I feel like, what are these social media apps doing to help people's mental health? Like, it shouldn't be allowed for people to just troll you. I feel like there needs to be better censors, or I think I've been hearing that some social media apps are talking about having you register for your account by logging in with an ID. And like, that would prevent so many people from having profiles where they're just hiding behind troll accounts.
I think that's really smart. I haven't heard of that.
So smart. Like, why are we not implementing these things? So at least if you're trolling someone, we could be like, oh, Alyssa Amoroso is being a troll. You know who it is. Mm-hmm. And
there's a name behind the hate.
Yeah, like, I just feel like we all keep talking about it. Mental health, trolling, and like, who's doing anything about it?
I know that on TikTok you can filter out certain words from your comments. So if someone says like a certain word that you don't want to see in your comments, like those comments, like they think they're commenting it, but it won't show up and you won't see it, which I think like they need to do more of on other apps as well.
So the issue is, I was talking to someone about this recently and I was like, oh, just put comment filters on. They were like, they're awful. Like let's say you could only add like 20 words to the list. They're like, I can't add anymore. I have comment filters on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, every platform, because I don't really like men sliding into my DMs and calling me a fat cow or a messy whore or whatever people say. So I have all negative words blocked, and that's to protect my own mental health, because I don't want to log onto my phone at 8 a.m. and see an awful comment and then feel a punch to my gut, like, So I agree, but I think that these platforms like need to do something more. It was, Dixie was like, trigger warning, Dixie was talking about suicide, like suicidal thoughts, and Charlie, it's just like something's got to give. It's really unhealthy. And I think what people don't realize is they're not someone with 1 million followers getting hate. They're someone with 100 million followers. That's so many opinions, and they're so young, and it's really taking a toll on them. And the one point I wanted to make was, I think a lot of people watching the show are quick to be like, well, why don't they just move back to Connecticut? Why don't their parents just take them out of, like social media? And I put some thought into this, because I would be lying if I said I didn't have those thoughts too. When you are given an opportunity like this, you are 1 in a million, if not 1 in like smaller odds than that, like you are 1 in a million. Who else would feel like you almost feel ungrateful to not seize the opportunity, because it's like, this is so rare. This doesn't happen to anyone. What are they not supposed to take this opportunity? So I think they're struggling between feeling that pressure of like, we were handed this and we need to do something with it, but then also trying to navigate what that means. So I get why they're pursuing it.
Also, like, you make a lot of money, and if this is your passion, or you figure out that it's your passion, or like, it happened for a reason. So yeah, it is hard to give up, and it's also hard to just like, it doesn't just shut off when you move back home.
That's the other thing. Like, the reason why they moved out of Connecticut, I believe, was because people were showing up to their home address. Like, either way, these girls now are famous. And even if they move home, they won't be able to just, like, go to the pizza place without being swarmed. Like, they're known at this point.
I think they're too far in.
And they became too famous too quick. Like, within 1 year to grow that big of an audience, it's like, even Charlie said, she was like, I didn't do anything any different than any other kid. I was just posting to social media. I don't know why people followed me. Like, she doesn't even get it. So I don't know. I think it's easy for us to look and be like, why are these parents putting them through this? I kind of think it's like, they probably say to the kids, okay, let's pack it up. And the kids are like, no, I want to continue. So I don't know. Just, it was really sad. I recommend you guys watch it. Even if you're not familiar with them, it was just a really good thing to help you understand like mental health associated to social media. Lastly, because I'm running out of breath and I need to eat lunch, Piper and Brendan on Bachelor in Paradise. Did you watch? Okay, first of all, why is Chris and Alana getting more hate than Piper and Brendan? I think we'll see it play out this upcoming week. My biggest issue with this entire thing is the fact that I don't really think what Chris and Alana did was like that bad. Like,
no, I think their situations were very similar,
but I think Brendan's was worse.
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's why it's weird that they're like, Chris and Alana are getting more attraction. Like, that whole situation is getting more hate.
Yeah. So, yeah. Really weird. I do think, though, Chris shouldn't have been making out with this girl in front of Jasenya's face. Also, huge Jasenya fan. Absolutely love her. Also, I met a lot of the Bachelor in Paradise, the Bachelor girls during Fashion Week. I met Rachel Kirkconnell, Kit. Super nice, really, really nice girls. I thought they were super down to earth. But that's besides the point. I digress. I think Brendan, I'm curious what his ex-wife thinks.
Oh my God, I forgot he has an ex-wife.
I know. Like, I respect her for not speaking out. I don't think she should, like, trash him. But I wonder if in her head, she's like, the world is seeing what he put me through. Right? Like, I'm so curious. Like, he's divorced, and I'm so freaking curious what she thinks, because she's probably like, yep, I feel that, like, validated.
Exactly.
Again, I have no idea maybe she cheated. I have no idea. Like, it could have been whatever situation. But just knowing he has, like, an ex, I'm so curious. I just think he was sly. He was super rude to Natasha, saying she has no options. I think she's one of the prettiest girls on that damn beach. She's such a great catch. Like, she's so mature and beautiful and fun. And for him to basically act like he did her a favor is just gross. Like, really, really gross. And the way him and Piper were talking about followers and this and that. Listen, they all go there for followers. I don't care what anyone says. So I kind of hate when everyone else gets on their high horse. Like, you're not here for the right reasons. It's like, yeah, neither are any of you. Like, you're all there for followers and potentially love.
Yeah.
You're there for both.
But I think half the people are playing it as a game, and then the other half is playing it more to find love.
Like, looking for someone.
Yeah.
Like I think Natasha was looking for someone. Yeah.
And Brendan clearly, like, had this plan in his mind to wait for Piper, and then she came on the beach.
Yeah, so I had these opinions last week where I was like, I don't care if you have met before the beach, as long as you come and you're transparent about it.
Right.
And I was kind of like, that's the issue here. Like, none of you are being honest about having known each other. But I listened to Natasha, Joe, and Tayshia. They have a podcast. And Natasha was like, I very vocally on the beach said that I'd met Piper. She's like, they didn't air it. So maybe they are all having those conversations and we're not seeing it happen, but that's on production. Like, I feel like production, I said this last week, is meddling so much and honestly ruining the show. Like, you have to show us those conversations of people saying they know each other, because it helps us put the pieces together. And also, and then I'll stop ranting, also, they're putting the contestants on the show, like, in such a bad spot for their own mental health, because if they're leaving out huge pieces of the story and then the entire internet is ganging up on these people, it's like the show has a responsibility to control the narrative, and they're making us, like, rally against people. Like, I'm sure Brendan feels like shit right now.
Yeah, it's really tough because these are real people in actuality.
Yeah.
And, like, the amount of followers that people are talking about that Brendan and Piper lost, like, it's over. Apparently Brendan lost over 100,000.
But think about, I was trying to just put myself in his shoes. Like, if you just wake up and that happens, like, you probably feel awful, like, so low, because you're like, wow, the 100,000 people don't like me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot to swallow. And I guess I'm not defending him, by the way, at all. But my point is, like, I think the show has a responsibility for protecting, like, the mental health of cast members. And if they're leaving out crucial pieces of information, like, that's messed up.
No, yeah.
Although he was wrong. Like, I think we'll call a spade a spade. Like, he was wrong to begin with. And Piper was kind of smug.
But I'm sure that there's literally three sides to every story. I'm sure that, you know, he had his chance to defend himself and they probably didn't air that either. Just playing devil's advocate.
I guess my point is that, like, at least from Natasha's perspective, because she spoke about it, she's like, I said I met her. Like, we had a whole conversation and we didn't see that. So it feels like they're being more sneaky than they may. I don't know. Whatever. I'm too hungry, guys. I need to go eat lunch. I'm, like, about to pass over. But thanks for listening this week. I will be back next week with another great interview. Write in, DM me. Let me know what kind of topics you want me to discuss. I think it's time I bring on someone to talk, like, about food freedom again. It's been quite a bit. And maybe, I think you guys were saying you want, like, a financial advisor and or someone to talk about manifesting. So those are topics I'm interested in exploring. So write into me and let me know what you want me to explore, if there's something on that list or if there's something that I haven't yet touched on that I can. Let me know. And I will talk to you guys next week. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, all of the things. I love you guys. Bye.